kick it start.
I'll just end the show now, just quickly, so you guys can intro.
Okay, so I'll just do a brief intro then. So hi everyone, a warm welcome to our webinar today and collaborating with Keynes in MYOB today. I'm Han, I'm the Vice President at Beta Alpha Psi, and today we're really glad to have Jerzy and Shailen from MYOB to join us. And I would like to express our sincere gratitude for their participation and allow this insightful communication to happen. So I'll just, I believe Jerzy's presentation today will shed a light on the transformative potential of AI and how it's going to shape the future of our industry. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Jerzy for him to start off the presentation and our webinar today.
Thanks very much. Now, I'm just going to see if I share my screen and you guys will be able to see me in a little circle. Is that right? Yes, thumbs up. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm here to talk about AI and accounting and what is the deal with AI. So right now, you guys have probably gone through a hell of a lot of changes. 2021, we were hit with COVID. 2022, we were trying to figure out how to work from home, study from home. And in 2023, we've just been hit with this massive, inundation of AI this, AI that. And, we're on the verge of a robot rebellion. So what I'm going to do tonight is actually go through AI, try to unpack some of the hype and address some of those nagging questions that you might have with regards to how it might affect that accounting industry. So before we dive into it and let you know why I'm here, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about myself. So a bit about me and why I'm here. So I'm not an accountant. I'm a tech person. So I will try to navigate some of the accounting jargon, but I also look after technology teams that build accounting solutions at MYOB. So the systems and the management platform specifically that support accountants, I oversee those teams that actually create those and are building out the accounting platform of the future. And I guess you can guess that AI will play a big role in the evolution of our platforms as we move into this future. I'm really passionate about AI. I believe that AI is one of the next greatest paradigm shifts, similar to the changes that we had since the mouse and keyboard. You guys probably don't even remember a time where there wasn't even a mouse and keyboard on a computer. So you could just imagine what life would be if all you had was a keyboard on its own. So this is a massive shift for us, and we won't recognize a world in the future where AI isn't actually completely integrated at work, home, and everything, everywhere in between. So yeah, so when I say passionate about AI, I'm really, really passionate about AI. My interest goes well beyond just work. I look at automation in every aspect of my life. I'm an early adopter in tech. AI is no exception. And like this cartoon on the side, I'm that awkward guy that will actually walk up to you in any scenario, even at a urinal, and start striking up a conversation. In the last, 37 new crazy AI things that actually popped up on LinkedIn. So that's me. So just let's talk about AI.
AI, generative AI, generative AI, generative AI, AI is AI. It uses AI to bring AI.
So this bloke is Sundar Pichai. So you might know him as the CEO of Google. In his last 2-hour keynote, he managed to say AI about 143 times. And this was just a supercut. So you can imagine sitting through a 2-hour performance with 143 times. I'm going to probably try to break that today in about half an hour. Anyway, so Sundar is clearly passionate about AI. Also another person you don't want to bump in at the urinal and the toilet. He will talk your ears off. And Google and technology and everyone across the world is leaning into this today. But all jokes aside, everyone in tech, Google, Meta, it's just the thing that's happening today. It is the buzzword, and it's a massive revolution, and we're all part of it. It's having a bit of a moment, and as you can see across all areas of the media, everyone's kind of talking through this hype. Are the killer robots going to go out to get us? I mean, I can barely get my iPhone to stop autocorrecting ducking, and I'm supposed to trust AI to do accounting. So it's one of those things that, like, how do I deal with this and this change that's happening right now? But let's not get too carried away. There's a ton of misinformation out there. And believe it or not, 2/3 of Americans actually want to stop development in AI altogether. So a bit of worry on that front. But don't even get me started on those doomsayers. It's not quite there yet. So let's take a look down that rabbit hole a little bit later. So AI. In the last 6 months, thousands and thousands of startup companies have just exploded all over the place. You are probably, if you're on LinkedIn or you're on Facebook or you're on anywhere, it's just a complete new product after new product and new product. It's a tech gold mine out there, and everyone's trying to get a claim there. So what you're seeing on the screen is just the tip of the iceberg. Some of the big companies and the big players that you'll probably recognize, maybe some that you don't, that are having a stake in this game today. OpenAI came out with ChatGPT. Microsoft has got Bing. Midjourney, one of the best products out there to create graphics and visuals. And you've probably seen some of the deep fakes that are coming out of there. Hugging Face, which is effectively what you could say the home of LLMs and models. You can go there and find all sorts of experimental models that people are building out today, and it's an open source market. Synthesia with audio stability, Anthropic, which has their Claude model, and Google's got a whole bunch of stuff out there as well. So, it's been a really productive 6 months. In fact, when you think about AI, it seems to be that it's been around longer than like 6 months, and it has been. But in the last 6 months, there's been such a push of that technology, and there's really only one company and one product that we can thank for it. And it's all thanks to these guys, OpenAI and ChatGPT. So thanks to OpenAI and this little gem that they released called ChatGPT, the world of AI is just completely turned upside down. This is not just a game changer, it's a completely new playing field. From writing assistants into creative applications, ChatGPT's set the pace for what everyone in tech is trying to catch up to. It's a really exciting time, and we're really seeing history in the making right now. So what's the deal with ChatGPT? So one of the things that they've successfully done is they've taken a very complex product that was only used within the universities and research context, and they democratized it and they made it accessible. So it's really extraordinary. It's put the power of AI in the hands of just normal people. And you don't, it's not just a toy for big corporations and people that can afford to use it. It's just opened the door for small businesses, people like you and I, to use it and harness its power. And it just turned everything, given everyone the keys to like a supercomputer. It has simplified interaction, simplicity through chat. So, remember when, I guess talking to a computer or saying, anything was like trying to decipher hieroglyphics? Not anymore. Like chat-based interface right now, you just talk in natural language and ask it to do things that you want. It's user-friendly, it's familiar, and it's like having a chat with a mate. So it's completely knocked down the barrier of interacting with complex AI models and data. And it's affordable. Like, here's the kicker. It doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. It won't cost you anything. If you want to use a model like GPT 3.5, it's free. Obviously, you're probably selling your own personal data while you're using it, but it is there for free for people to use. And it's, for companies, it's scale. So you don't have to be a billionaire to start your journey with AI. It's a really bright future on the doorstep, without having to break the bank there. So let's look at the road for ChatGPT and how actually they kind of turned it into a massive company. So let's wrap your heads around this. Within 1 week of its launch, ChatGPT 1 million users, just 1 week. So 5 days to hit 1 million. If you look at other companies that we know out there, like Netflix, Airbnb, Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, and Instagram, they all took months and years. I think it's absolutely crazy to think that a product that was just sort of released out there, like ChatGPT, hits that record in 5 days, which is absolutely unbelievable. And if you think about all these products and how you use them, every one of those products you lose time in. Netflix, Airbnb, Twitter, Facebook, you sit and you stare at a screen and you swipe left or right, up and down. But ChatGPT has a point of difference, and that point of difference is it's all about giving people productivity, making them more productive, making more use of the time. So it's one of those things that it's the only, if not the biggest and fastest growing productivity tool in the world. And it's probably going to keep that record for a very long time. Fast forward, let's have a look, the road to 100 million users. Now, not many companies actually hit that threshold, but ChatGPT did, and it did it pretty quickly, and it broke the record at the time. So it hit that adoption in 2 months, 100 million users in 2 months' time. TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, and Telegram, and Uber. I mean, if you combined all those numbers, it's like no way near that. So it is one of the fastest adoption rates in history, and like that was up until Threads came along. And I'm pretty sure that Mark Zuckerberg did some funny numbers there and double accounted some of the users that he had on Insta. I'm pretty sure that there was some dodgy double accounting going on. But even coming in second, it's as clear as day. ChatGPT isn't just a flash in a pan. It's an absolute phenomenon. So this is something that goes well beyond hype, and it's really, opened up this industry to everyone. So moving on to some of the major tech investment, like if you look at across all of these, you're probably recognizing Microsoft. Microsoft put in a massive amount of investment into ChatGPT, $10 billion to integrate it into their products. Whoops, sort of flicked through the slides by accident. $10 billion. And they've taken that investment and they've put it into a search product called Bing. Now, 12 months ago, I pretty much guarantee it, no one knew what Bing was. No one knew what Edge browser was, right? It was a bit of a joke in the industry. And this year, everyone's saying, hey, Bing's actually better than Chrome. Bing is better than this. And the integration they did with OpenAI for Bing has actually made a huge amount of difference. So if we look at, what actually happened. So Microsoft Bing's gamble is really paying a dividend. It's not just paying it off, it's actually hitting the jackpot. If you look at this, AI-powered Bing scorched past Google on the monthly traffic and numbers. So it got a 31% increase from the same point of time compared to Google's 14. So who would have thought that this obscure browser Edge with Bing integrated into it could have achieved that? So it shows that even Google couldn't even catch up and understand what the hell just happened. And Microsoft, who were like this Silicon Valley dinosaur from like the 80s, came out of nowhere and integrated and struck a partnership with OpenAI, integrated something within weeks into their Bing chat interface. And now they're working on Office 365 Copilot, which integrates all of your data across everything, is absolutely phenomenal. And now, like you can see, everyone's talking about Satya Nadella, right? He's like the darling of Silicon Valley. Who would have thought that Microsoft would find itself back into that limelight again as a company that is at the forefront of innovation? So absolutely magnificent there. And productivity is 100% massive business. So we've got to buckle up for this because AI market is about to take off like a rocket. We're only at the very start, at the very genesis of this. It's not just that, we're talking about growth. We're talking about exponential growth. If you look at this graph, it's gone from 87 million investment in 2021 to a staggering 1.5 trillion by 2030. I mean, we are just at the very beginning of that kicker. So that's a trillion with a T. And I actually think it's probably going to go even higher than that. So And the thing is, like, a lot of people are worried about the impact of AI. AI is actually poised to create more jobs than it's going to take away. So for every one job that AI is going to create, it's been modeled that it will put about 1.5 jobs back. So it's not just a disruptor, it's a creator and it's a builder. So if you think about it, it's going to create so much more opportunity than it's going to take away. So it's definitely something that this massive kind of growth and investment is worth following. So top questions asked about AI. So we're going to switch it up now. We've been doing, like, road shows, all sorts of things, meeting with customers and clients, and there's been a lot of questions coming backwards and forwards about what people care about AI. And I've got questions. Everyone's got questions on how it's going to affect us and what it's going to do. But we've taken a few questions and thought, all right, well, let's address those and make sure that we give them a bit of attention. So let's have a look at some of the top questions that people asked about AI. Can it get a date? All right. Well, probably. I think there is probably a chance that AI can get you a date, but would it really be okay to use AI to get you a date? I don't know. I think it might be a little bit shaky if you start catfishing people with AI. Deepfakes are a real thing. You've got to really watch yourself out there on Tinder. But hey, let's have a look at a thought experiment right now. So let's take some selfies of this guy that looks really weird. And let's run them through an AI photo editor. And we're going to use Rimini right now, which uses pure AI. And it doesn't just take your photos and run a filter over the cross. It actually maps out your face and your features and then recreates it. And the way that it does it, it trains the model on your face and its shape, and even can take into account your profile and the sides, and then it remaps it into a completely new image. It doesn't just sort of overlay your face onto a model, it actually recreates the entire image. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pick a model and figure out what composition that we want. Well, let's have a look at this guy here, right? All right, well, so this I like flannels, let's do flannels. So I'm going to take this guy with the pumpkins and let's see what happens. All right. Bingo. All right. So this is probably a bit awkward, but this is what's happened. So none of these pictures feature anywhere else on the internet. So if you wanted to try to run that and find it somewhere, it doesn't exist. This build with this person, with this shirt and that face is completely unique. And so, I think if you're looking at sprucing up your LinkedIn profile, I think you're on the right track. But if you're trying to get a Tinder date, I think you're probably, running on thin ice there. So just be careful about what you use. And I think it opens up a bit of a question around ethics and responsible use. Try to use it the right way and do the right thing. So let's tackle the next top question about AI. So is it safe to use? Are people worried about safety in AI? And it really depends on how you use it and what you really mean by safe. So let's unpack safety. Will AI kill everyone? And it's not even a joke. People are really worried about AI and Terminator 2 and Skynet and things like that. And in short, based on the current generation of AI that we're working with, I would say no. But if you're chatting with it, just say please and thank you, just in case. It's just always nice to be polite. But is it safe for us to use in our day-to-day work? Now, I'm sure you guys are using it to help you prep for exams and things like that. And I'm sure that you're getting better marks than you deserve. Sorry, probably not. But anyway, I think, there is definitely a question of can we use it and can we use it safely? So basically, it is safe to use, but there is a caveat. You need to read the T's and C's and understand how it's using your data, especially your sensitive data. So if you're using it, just make sure that you strip out anything that could be personally identifiable. If you're using it, in a work context, don't put anything that you wouldn't want out there on the internet. So unless you want to broadcast it on LinkedIn, don't do it. And so I think that's really the caveat there. But there are ways that you can do it, and it's through switching off history. I was at a conference the other day where someone thought that if they just close out that little X on the left side of their ChatGPT, that means they've got rid of the history and there's no trace of it. Well, it's pretty much too late if that happened, right? They've already got your data. So make sure that you go into your settings and you switch it off just to make sure that you're safe there. Okay, so trust is a really important thing in the use of AI tooling. And some of the questions that you need to ask is, does the company that you're using, like ChatGPT or Microsoft, do you trust them and the way that they're using your data, and are they training the model? So they're taking, if you give them the chance, they're going to take all the data that you give them and they're going to try to retrain their algorithm. So just make sure that you understand how they're using it and what they're using it for. Do you know and trust this company? Research the company, look into their reputation, their ethics, their track record. Have they had data breaches in the past? Trust isn't something that's given, it has to be earned. Have you read the T's and C's? I've mentioned that before. And do you know how they're going to collect your data and how they're going to use it? Those terms and conditions, they're not just legal mumbo jumbo. There's actually real rules of engagement there. And if they're not, if they're using disclaimers in there and dodgy language, just make sure that you catch up on that and you don't get caught out. And be extremely wary of free services. Like, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Everyone's going to be wanting you to use their tools, but what are they getting in return? Always question that. So they are getting your data and they're getting it free. So most publicly available AIs right now that say, hey, it's free to use, are collecting everything that you do, and they know everything about you as well. So be very careful and be very wary of that as well. Okay, so let's tackle the next one, and it's a bit of an elephant in the room when we talk about accountants. Is AI going to replace accountants? And it's a very, very valid concern, and a lot of accountants have been asking this question. And the answer is no, but. And I can't give you 100% no, because the accountants that can't fully leverage the potential of AI are going to be replaced by those that are. So I think what you need to think about is, how can I use AI to benefit me most effectively? How can I use it to grow my business? And what I will say is, if you go, if you look at YouTube for the most part, or if you go to any company, they're not really building accounting products, and there's no real accounting experts out there. So it really does rely on you as the future of accounting to then learn about this and become AI professionals. It will be an expectation of your customers when you come and you give them advisory and you consult with them. So growing in this space and understanding how you can leverage this technology is going to be key. So if you understand this, if you understand how it works, and you can consult with people around it, you are going to be securing your future, as opposed to the accountants that, it's like the accountants that are working on spreadsheets, and they're doing all their, not using any real accounting software. How successful are they today? So think about that. Productivity is the product that AI offers. So how much work can you do? How many tasks can you complete? And especially in the world of, I need to get through all these, all these tasks. Analysis has been done that people that use ChatGPT at a very basic level were 30% more productive in terms of how many tasks they complete compared to those that couldn't. So there is real compelling evidence out there that suggests that AI will make you more productive and it will get you where you need to be quicker. So let's cover off 5 areas where AI is going to impact accounting. So automating routine tasks through process automation. So what this means is it will take things like data entry, appointment scheduling, document management, and will free up time and will improve consistency and will let you focus on more higher value things. Decision making, advanced data analytics, financial forecasting, performance tracking, marketing automation. It's going to make you more informed, it will boost your efficiency, and it'll drive the pace of growth as well. Risk management and compliance. Direct, you can actually find potential fraud through, analysis and then ensure that you can maintain regulatory compliance. And it'll also save you time and mitigate risks and streamline those workflows. Enhanced client service, really important, and something that's really misunderstood is it'll give you real-time personalized client interaction information and how to onboard, how to maintain clients, how to interact with them, how to give them financial advice and actually curate them to their needs. And content generation and communication, one of the strongest high points of AI. It will help you write emails, generate reports, and handle written communication. So, it will give you time to focus on your expertise and will streamline the way that you do this. And all of these things, like that I mentioned, it doesn't replace the human being, right? It just enhances those capabilities, allowing you to work smarter and focus on the things that actually add value to the practice that you work in. All right, so we're going to look at some practical examples in accounting, and there's going to be some wordy prompts, so you can do some screenshots if you want, because you'll see some on screens. You might want to retype those in at some point, or we can just sort of, slip by them. But given your recording, you can probably watch them and screenshot them at some point in time. So just warning on the screen, there's going to be some prompts coming. And the prompts are actually going to be coming from ChatGPT Plus. So I'm not using what would be like the free tool. I'm actually showing the enhanced version that is actually paid for. And the reason I'm doing that one is there is actually a heap more capability with the GPT-4 model compared to 3.5. It is night and day. And if I was going to compare it to something, it is like the collective knowledge of a village compared to a metropolis city, a bustling metropolis city. So if you can think about, if I walk into a tiny little village and ask people about what they think about a subject, and then I go and try to collect that information in a city, I'm going to get a lot more diversity of information. And so the models are built and the knowledge is built on a much grander scale. So the quality of the output that you're getting and the access to tooling in the Plus model is far more superior. And I've also put a little excerpt there that right now, there is a business plan right now. I think in the last week, they've released ChatGPT Enterprise. If you're going into work, I think this is one of the key things and differentiators to, it's going too fast, to make sure that you're using a secure model within the business, one that is locked down for enterprise and it doesn't share your data and any proprietary company information. So, firstly, let's have a look at the anatomy of a prompt. So here's a poorly structured prompt. Tell me the profit thing for XYZ company last year. Now you throw that into ChatGPT and it's not going to know what to do with it. It'll say, pardon me, I have no context here. It's vague. It hasn't really set out the objective. It's got no context. It doesn't know where to take the data from. It doesn't know anything about the fiscal year that it's trying to work in, and there's nothing to guide its analysis. And it's missing all direction. So it doesn't actually guide the AI through any specific analysis to compare it to anything. Let's have a look at a well-structured prompt. So using the provided financial data, assuming you've provided it some context there for XYZ company in the 2021 fiscal year, please calculate the net profit margin and provide a brief analysis on the key factors that influence this margin, comparing it to the previous year. So what you can see here is there's a complete structure. It clarifies the objective. It sets the context for what it wants to do. It outlines a comparative analysis to compare it to the previous year as requested, and then it's very focused. And so this kind of highlights that if you don't give it enough information to work with, it's not going to give you good quality output. So the more that you can give it in terms of context and structure and how specific you can be with your prompting, the better the output that you're going to get. So be specific. Defining the exact task that you want it to do, provide the context, make sure that you include any relevant details like the company, the fiscal year, any specific data that needs to complete the job. Be clear and precise. Don't use ambiguous language. provide direction, guide on how you wanted to do the analysis. And there's this thing called one-shot, multi-shot. So if you just give it a task to do, it will just find its own way to do it. But you can give it examples. You can say, I want you to do it kind of like this, and give me 2 examples on how you want to do it. It will then follow that. And that's called multi-shot. So if you can do that, it will try to follow and follow that pathway through. And subject relevance. So make sure that your prompt's tailored to the audience needs. So who's going to be reading it? Writing a good prompt is like writing a good business requirement. So if you can get your business requirement right, then the people that are developing whatever you need, the tools, the technology, will know what they're doing. So if you've done business analysis as one of the units of study, knowing how to structure that and giving enough information and context is going to be key for it to be successful. So that's effectively the same thing as writing a good prompt. And align it with goals. Give it the prompt, the overall objective, so it can hit the goal of its inquiry, right? Give it as much context as it can get. So I've got a few examples, but I know that I'm kind of at the 30-minute mark. I've got 3 examples to run through. Are we okay with time? Awesome. All right. So the first one I'm going to show you is what is a transaction reconciliation prompt. So this is where we want to give it transactions from a bank account or statements or CSV files, anything that you want. And I'm going to be using Code Interpreter, but it's just recently rechanged its name to Advanced Analytics. So I'm going to use Code Interpreter here. So the way that you'd find that if you have the paid version, you just go into the settings under GPT-4 and you select Code Interpreter. And some of the features here is that it can create animated GIFs. It will code out Python scripts. And if you've done Python as, oh, sorry, it's flying around. If you've done Python, it's a really good language for mathematics. And it's one thing that ChatGPT can't do. It's a language model. It's not a mathematics model. So it doesn't deal with numbers and calculations well. And this is why, if you're using it for accounting or if you're using it for numbers, to use something like Python and Code Interpreter actually bridges that gap. It can create QR codes, word clouds. It can create visualizations and charts. And it can import and export from just about any readable data format. So you can give it PDFs, you can give it CSV files, and you can get it output to CSVs and PDFs as well, or charts or other things as well. It can even give it a zip file. It will unpack it, read all the files in the zip, and then do its analysis as well. So here is the prompt that is covering off transaction reconciliation. We want it to take merchant name. We want it to give it a confidence rating. We want it to categorize the transaction, and we want it to sort of give a bit of a description on the background and what it is. This is the second one. It's a very long prompt, and this is kind of where I'm highlighting how specific you want prompts to be. You want it to outline exactly how it's going to do. So the user interaction flow, which is in that lower part, is exactly how it's going to behave. So what this prompt does is, through using words and requirements, it's building an application that will do transaction reconciliation for me. So I will then pass the details on transactions, and then it will follow the user interaction flow to actually do that analysis for me. So here's how it works. So first of all, once I've run that prompt through, transaction reconcile your service. Please first share the general location of the client in question and what type of business you want to be. Okay, it's a private person in Melbourne, Australia. Got it? Paste the list of transactions below. I've uploaded an account statement, and then it goes through and analyzes it, and it has a look. Okay, this is what you've got here. You've got Budget Direct. It's got a 95% confidence rating. It's an insurance company, and the background is that it's an insurance provider. So you can take a whole bunch of transactions, like 10 different statements, mixed modes, so CSVs, whatever files, and then it can actually categorize those and group them and give it those confidence ratings. And what you can see here is it actually generated the Python code on the fly to break all that stuff out. So you don't have to code, you don't have to understand how to code. It will actually take all that context, run the code, and then create that. And you can download that into a table as well. So you can just export the CSV in exactly the same way. And if you're using it live, you can just click on Budget Direct and it'll take you to the Budget Direct site so you can actually see what company it is. So That is just transaction reconciler. So effectively, in summary, it will ingest data in any readable format. It will create Python code to organize and clean your data up. So even if you've got gaps or issues with your data, it will recognize issues in there and fix them and ask you to clear to whether you want to clear them or if you want to clarify why those gaps are there. It will identify and fix those errors for you. So if it doesn't quite understand something in there, it will prompt you, say, how do you want me to deal with this? Or, you know what, I see there's a problem here. I'm going to redo it and do it differently. And then it will analyze that data for you. It will give you a report on all of its findings. It will generate those insights in any format. And you can actually ask it to export to a PowerPoint if you wanted to. So it has all those libraries that run through Python that can export those ways. Insights and reporting as well. So it's quite a bit on Code Interpreter. Definitely my favorite product that it has out there right now, and highly recommend it to students and people to use. So, oh yeah, and if you want visuals, it will give you visuals. So if you've just given it a whole bunch of ledger data, you can say, well, give me a bunch of visuals. And I didn't prompt it to say I wanted a scatter chart or I wanted a bar graph. It just offered these up, just asking me, I just want some visuals. But if you know what you want, you'll get a much better output. So if you want a 3D rendering, it will give you a 3D rendering on many dimensions. So have to think about it. If you know what you want, you can get really good quality output from this. Bearing in mind, I'm not an accountant. So let's have a look at a tax research tool or research anything tool. Web Pilot is like an extension tool that you can actually connect into ChatGPT. It allows you to browse the web directly out of ChatGPT, and that will take the data directly from the web that is current. A way that I sort of wanted to validate this. So here is the prompt to research anything. All right. So I'm going to get it to set the context of which authority, is it ATO or IRD? And then we're going to go through how to set it out and give us quotes, a concise answer. It will also provide us citations and references to where the source data is that actually references the research that they did. So here is the output. Okay, so let's begin the research process. Could you please provide some tax authority? All right, so it's asking me which tax authority I want to do. So I said, I want ATO as the tax authority for the 2022-2023 tax action year. Great. I'm going to use the ATO as the authoritative source for this year. Okay. Can you provide me the details and the questions that you want? I want to know FBT on electric vehicles that are purchased after August 2022. Okay, great. All right. So it's specified the topic. And then it's just clarifying once again that I want the information from the ATO. So here is the output that I received. It's given me a quotation table, ATO compliance update, FBT exemption for electric vehicles, and then it's given me the quote and the expert that says exactly where it's taken the data from. It's given me a concise answer, something for continued discussion, and a supporting work paper, which I can download, which is on the right, that I can actually incorporate into my tax work. Say, oh, here's the work paper that actually outlines what's there. So this is incredibly powerful and time-saving. And, you can actually use it to read pretty much any page, summarize anything, give you a bit of a TLDR. Too long, didn't read it. So you can do an ABN lookup, ask it, hey, here's an ABN, which company does it belong to? It will return an answer. And you can research just about anything. And here's a little bit of a shorter prompt that can research just about anything that you want, all right? And it will work as well. Okay. And this is the last one that I'm going to show you to give me a summary or a TLDR. And I'm going to use VoxScript. And VoxScript will be able to go through, like, for instance, a YouTube video and then summarize all of that and give you a summary on that, right? So I don't know how many times you guys have probably had to watch a 2-hour YouTube or something like that. This is one example where, this is the treasurer, Jim Chalmers, basically handing down the budget for about 2.5 hours. Don't know about you. I've got better things to do with my life to listen to Jim Chalmers talk about the federal budget. So I just put that YouTube video straight into the prompt, say, hey, what is this? Great. It's telling me it's Chalmers. All right, highlight the financial changes and put them into a table. And it's done that. So I don't have to go through 2.5 hours. I have just the summary of what parts of the budget affect me. All right, I've got healthcare, healthcare and Medicare. I've got energy, environment, employment, income support, housing. It's taken it straight out of the video. I haven't even reviewed it, right? It's given me all that summary, and it is accurate. Okay, so in closing, embrace AI. It's going to augment your work. It's not going to replace it. So it's going to make you much more powerful and productive. Learn and adapt. Familiarize yourself with AI and all those emerging technologies. Refine your soft skills. AI lacks human empathy, judgment, creativity, and emotional intelligence. You guys are going to be bridging the gap. So, these human skills are going to be more crucial than ever in an AI-driven world. Stay curious. I mean, accounting is just more than just the numbers. It's about adding value, providing insights, and strategic decision-making. So keep exploring and learning. And the future belongs to AI-enabled accountants. So it won't replace accountants, but the accountants that are using AI will replace the ones that don't. So make sure that you're part of that transformative journey. And finally, stay safe. Be wary of where you're sharing your data and how you use it. And finally, I think I'm at the questions. So are there any questions?
Yeah, so first, thank you so much for the really insightful presentation, because I didn't really know that how much power now the AI already gained. It's really surprising, to be honest. So my question would be, can you give us some kind of examples, like what kind of job that AI is potentially can create? Because as you mentioned before, it's like in the future, people will be more focusing on soft skills and stuff. So, and also those related to calculation and analysis seems that ChatGPT or like AI are able to perform those kind of tasks. So are there any examples that like the opportunities or jobs that created by ChatGPT and AI?
Well, one job that's popped up in the last 6 months that didn't exist before is prompt engineering. And if you've seen some of the offers, prompt engineers are commanding anything upwards of $200,000 to $300,000, right, in the industry. So understanding how to use AI and understanding how to prompt and get the best outcomes from it is absolutely crazy. So that's exploded. However, for people that are saying, I'm going to back my whole life on being a prompt engineer, it's probably a bit of a short-term view. So there's going to be what I would say a bit of an AI curve, right? Right now, there's this big spike that everyone wants a prompt engineer. Everyone wants expertise in this area. But then there's going to be this kind of a little tipping point, and it's going to go down, and they call it the trough of disillusionment, where everything kind of stabilizes and calms down. And that's where all the prompt engineers are going to be like, well, no more prompt engineers jobs, because everyone's going to become an expert. Everyone's going to understand how to use it. It's like when the iPhone came out, there might have been a job saying, oh, we want people that are iPhone experts and iPhone engineers and stuff like that. And then everyone knows how to use it. You don't need to be an expert anymore because it is so intuitive. And AI is going to become such an integrated part of our lives. That role as a prompt engineer might just be a very short-term thing. So it might be like a 2 or 3 year thing, and then everyone's going to catch up and everyone's going to know how to do that. But when it comes to the future of roles, I think that a lot of the existing roles that exist will continue to exist. But you've got to think about how AI will enable those roles to function, not how it will replace it. And so that's the difference. Like we'll still have people that are plumbers and people that work, as baristas in cafes. But what about the way that interaction works? Like people will walk in and say, I want a double shot latte into a microphone. It goes straight into an ordering system and then prioritizes it. And then based on how much milk you're using or which milk you're using, it'll basically say, all right, well, because you're already doing the soy milk and this is a soy latte, then, it will be more efficient. So it will optimize productivity and reduce waste. So you're not pouring stuff down the drain simply because you don't see that order that's like 3 or 4 down the track. And so like normal people that think, oh, AI is not going to impact me, are going to be impacted in a way that they don't even realize right now. So it's hard to sort of say what, because we're such a, we're right at the start of that curve. And so, like if you ask me, how's a hairdresser going to kind of, feel impacted by AI? Well, customers will come in and they'll say, this is the haircut that I want. And then that haircut will be translated to exactly how you can achieve that haircut consistently. Maybe at one point in time, you just put your head in a helmet and it'll pop out nice, like who knows? But, I think there is going to be this evolution across every industry that adapts to this. And like, you will see these apps coming out, all the time. But yeah, it's hard to say if there's any one role that will be left unaffected here.
Yeah, definitely. So just to follow up about that question, do you think it is more important for us to know like how to utilize it instead of like know how it works? Like, do you think it is important for us, such as we are studying accounting as a major, so it's important for us to get a little bit of knowledge about the coding or like how this thing's going to work, or should we just know that how are we going to implement that and how are we going to incorporate that in our work in the future?
I would say that everyone would want to know how to do prompt engineering. Everyone wants to know how to structure and try to get the most out of it. There's going to be a lot of tooling that will be geared towards language. And as long as you can articulate what you're trying to get and you understand the constraints around how it works, you'll be doing really well. And so if you're moving into the accounting industry, I think you need to think about how you can maximize your productivity through the use of AI, but not developing new tools. There's going to be people that are dedicating their lives building these models. And to be honest, no one really understands what's happening inside the box. It's one of the mysteries with generative AI. The people that are building it don't understand how it's evolving. And it's one of those things that, oh yeah, we did a whole bunch of stuff and it's kind of doing it. It's like, don't touch it, it's working, right? And that's kind of where we are right now. Maybe one day we'll understand like exactly what's happening inside that black box. But I think right now, all of us are learning more from AI. And all of us are users to this instance, and we're integrating it and we're using it, and it does hallucinate, and it gives you kind of not always kind of desirable outputs, but it's going to be better with time. And I think we have to be better as the users of the system. So I think focus on the use of the tool, experiment bravely. Bravely, I mean, not silly, but like, don't put private data in there, but use it like to try to streamline your personal life, see what you can do, see what you can get out of it. And like if you want to muck around with data, there are safe ways of doing it. So for instance, Kaggle, if you go to Kaggle, it's like a website where there's like massive data sets there. You can just download those and it'll be like, all right, what is like GDP across all the countries in the world, year by year, and how's it changed? You can just throw it into there and just do some analysis on it. And that will just get you used to using those tools and understanding how you can manipulate data and graph that out. So becoming a super user is definitely going to be the best kind of, focus area right now. The development part of it, I would leave that to like the deep developers, because that's where like it gets really complicated.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I just had a question. Yeah. So you sort of spoke about how there's the fears about how our data is going to be used. I was wondering if you could speak more to perhaps about how the growing area of like cybersecurity will develop along with AI, because there's there's a lot of fears that AI could be used to make like cracking encryptions more effective in the future.
Yeah,
more efficient. Yeah,
100%. And this is massive ethical question. Can we get AI to hack itself, and at what point does it sort of create backdoors for itself and all that sort of stuff? the challenges that we have is when AI starts building code and builds applications, it can do so and it can create such complexity in the way that it's structured that humans might not fully understand what it's doing. That's kind of what's happening with LLMs. Like, we don't quite understand what's in the box. So the only way that we can actually control it is through actually creating controlled AI models to audit it. And cybersecurity is going to be very reliant on AI to deal with AI threats. Humans, it's one of those paradoxes where if you think about like an advanced artificial intelligence, and like if it was sentient, imagine sitting around trying to deal with humans who think at a millionth of the pace that it can think and process data, and how impatient and frustrating that might be for that AI. So if you think about like the problems that we're trying to solve, and we're saying, oh, we're going to try to solve a problem that this really advanced intelligence created, we might not be able to deal with it. So we need to rely and actually build tools that deal with those threats within AI. So, and cybersecurity in the wrong hands can be a true threat. But the only way that we can actually truly deal with it is by building robust AI tooling that actually leans into that threat. So all of us will probably be using in the future AI interceptors or something like that to stop spam, stop us from doing something silly, like sharing our data where we shouldn't. Antivirus is going to become something that's going to be like, the way that you used to scan your computer. This is going to turn into something that's going to actually interact and be like your personal firewall of every threat that's out there. So if you think about that evolution, that's definitely on the pipeline.
Thank you.
I got one more question here.
Yep.
So, introduction of AI, massive thing. The game is changing. The corporate world is changing.
Mm-hmm.
The players got to change as well. Do you think, since university is probably not going to help us or like provide a subject this fast with the changing world, do you think we should learn like Python ourselves, upskill ourselves with other skills?
I think you should start using AI. What I would say is get in there and start using it and muck around and have a look at things that interest you. Like, I wouldn't say that you need to go off and start learning Python. Do you know ChatGPT builds Python really good? Like, does it for you? Like, can you articulate what you want from it is the question. And so we have to be better at being able to articulate what we're trying to get. What is our objective? What are the constraints to reach that objective? What things do we want to incorporate into it? One of the areas of the industry that's going to be affected hugely by AI is coding and developers. More people probably going to be displaced in the coding area because AI will just take natural language and build a lot of that work out. We'll still need them because we can't fully trust AI, but there will be a shift across from, all right, I'm a Python developer. Why do I need 10 Python developers when I can just ask the question and have it automatically built by, a ChatGPT for me? So there is, this element of, but if I'm a really good one, then I'm the one that can validate that output, right? Because you can't trust it. So I think should you go off and learn Python? Only if you're really interested in it, right? But you will be using, I guess, ChatGPT and other tools. I've been using ChatGPT a lot because it is the most popular tool out there. But whether using Bing or Bard or using Claude, and all of those tools are great in their own right, and they'll all give you really great outputs. So as long as you know what you're trying to achieve, you probably don't need to go down a path of developing. But I think there's nothing wrong with experimenting and playing around with stuff. A lot of people learn through games and they try to build something that they can play with and enjoy. And then they do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And while they don't have coding skills, they understand what they're doing wrong as they iterate, and they adjust and they adjust and they adjust. And then you might build yourself up a bit of a prompt library that you kind of, lean into, say, okay, well, I've got some really good structures here that I'm going to follow that will make you super powerful. So think about how you can evolve the way you think and how you interact with it, because it's not like a human. It can't quite understand you, but if you phrase what you want, it will be able to execute pretty precisely what you require.
All right. So the key takeaway is to become the accountant that uses AI to replace the accountant that doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Curiosity is probably the biggest thing, right? Like, just experiment, learn through failure and experimentation, and just don't be afraid. Like, it's one of those things that you'll learn so much. You probably will learn Python simply because it will create the Python. You look at it and say, oh, I understand how that works. I understand how it actually declared the variables, and I understand how those variables then incorporate to create that. And then you might say, I might have a go at Python, and you'll try to code it up yourself. And so you will learn simply through using the tool, simply through understanding how it's actually processing that data for you.
Just hypothetically, if someone were to want to go into learning machine learning, they'd have to go through Python, learn linear algebra, and then perhaps start using TensorFlow and scikit-learn, right?
Yeah, and R and a whole bunch of other stuff. Yep.
Okay.
If you go into machine learning, you're going down a data science kind of pathway. And if you are going down that pathway, it's probably going to lead you to actually learning how to build language models and generative AI solutions. If you really love that, and if you're really passionate about that, that's a great pathway to go down. Definitely something that's future-proof, because we're going to continue to build and evolve this. So if that's where you want, like, that's what you're interested in, awesome. But the majority of us are going to become super users, and are probably not comfortable with the deep learning, machine learning aspects and data science aspects of those roles. So I think just, experimenting and embracing, with what you have, and just sort of stretching yourself every now and then by challenging yourself with some different tasks is definitely the best place to go.
Yeah.
Hi, actually, I have a question, but I'm probably coming from the perspective of a bank. So I recognize bank as a custodian of trust, so that means it goes through stringent internal and external audits. But we also recognize that AI or generative AI or whatever machine learning is known to be a black box. So that means there might be an issue here where auditors actually can't really see how it comes to a particular decision. I was actually wondering if you have any ideas on how you could actually overcome these type of things during the auditability or accountability issues.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of the challenges is I'm going to struggle with this word, replicatability of AI and outputs. So every time I put something in, I might get a different output in return. And one of the key things around finance and accounting is that, I want to make sure that I get predictive outcomes, and it's consistent and it's accurate. And if I can't ensure that it's 100% accurate, and if I don't understand the way that it came to a conclusion, then how can I replicate that so I can prove it? Certainly with like a situation with accounting and audit, or in the financial industry, you want to make sure that you understand that. So there is always a level of risk if you trust 100% on those outputs. Now, you can turn down the temperature on AI to make it much more definitive, but it's still not going to make it certain. So that is why there's a very cautious approach within the financial industry with AI, because up until the point that we can really train it, it has to be customized, right? Train it to perform very targeted, but not hallucinate at the same time when it does its analysis. That's going to be a point, in time. So we're not quite there yet with AI to be able to use it across, I guess, a whole, raft of data scenarios in financial institutions. But it's not long before it will be, because every company, well, not every company, but a lot of banks we'll be building, I believe ANZ is building like XAI or something like that, or XGPT. And, you know, they're building their own model, which is going to be trained and tuned on specifically how they want to work and what the way they make decisions, which are going to really drive down hallucinations and inaccurate data. And the creativity aspect of AI is going to be much lower as well.
Okay. I actually had one question, but I don't really know if you can answer this, but I think I'll just throw it out. Because I was actually interested in the supply chain aspect as well. And I was thinking that generative AI could be a possible use in that area, such as invoice and payments matching. But I was wondering if do you think there are any other areas when it comes to the trade and supply chain where you can see generative AI being a possible use?
100%. Like every, like, you know, supply chain, you know, inventory, you know, how much product do you have, anticipating how much product, and, you know, and there's stock and inventory over time based on seasonal, you know, changes, or, you know, availability of products over time. Like all that analysis, which would take people hours and hours, if not days, to try to come up with, can be done within a span of seconds, given the right amount of data to AI. So, you know, with supply chain, 100%, right? Like, you know, all that sort of stuff. You know, I think they're already looking at, you know, the use of AI across, I think, food supply shortages in third world countries and how to deal with it, and crisis management solutions. Like all of that stuff, you know, is connected to supply chain. How can we get product into the hands of people? What are the things that we need? When do we need them by? Even, you know, managing and executing like into a project lifecycle, all of these things can be done. They're not all there yet. So, you know, it's a lot of stuff that's still being built, but, you know, certainly I would say that, you know, we will see, you know, every aspect of the industry solving for these problems.
All right, thank you.
And transaction matching, I think I showed you, like, you can reconcile and match transactions really simply, and that's off the shelf today.
Yeah, okay, I think we'll just wrap up here because we already actually running a little bit over time, but it was really interactive session. So thank you again for joining us today, Jerzy and Shailin, and also thank everybody to join us in this webinar today, and we'll call it an end. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you, see you.
Thank you.